Hey Hebrew fans, this is Todd. So I decided to go ahead and get myself a 3D printer. That's pretty cool, right? So this 3D printer actually uses resin as a medium. Now this top section of the box had a lot of different parts in it, from an extra screen that goes in the resin tray to the metal plate that actually is where the printed project actually pulls up from out of the resin. So let's get this out of the box and let's take a look at it. So you can see it's well packed. It's got lots of foam all over it. Then once you get the foam off, it has all this plastic wrap surrounding it. I can just imagine the guy that is in the factory is probably just spinning this part around while he has a giant roll of saran wrap just wrapping this thing up to protect it. So it's well protected when you get it, so that's nice to know. Now it comes with directions both on paper and on the thumb drive as a PDF, and it has a link to this software right here that you're going to use in order to orientate your object in order to print it. Now to print this object, you first got to make sure it fits inside the blue lines. Then afterwards, you have to actually add supports and slice it. Once it's sliced, then you can go ahead and save it back to your thumb drive. So make sure you follow those steps, adding the supports in, and then also saving it back to your thumb drive. Alright, after you do that, you're going to bring your USB drive back down to your printer, wherever your printer is, and plug it in. And remember what the file name is so you're able to go back to that thumb drive later on so you can actually find the file you're looking for. Now to set the printer up, we have to put the resin in. When you put the resin in, make sure you wear your gloves all the time, because that resin is very toxic and not safe to be touching. So switch your gloves out as they get dirty. You don't want to get resin all over your printer. So keep switching it. Only fill it about a third of the way full. So after this, you're going to find your file. Just use the up and down arrows to find it. And in this case, mine's down, and there it is right there. The second one, you press it, and then you press the play button in order to start your printing of this actual part that you have now selected. Now, a lot of this I'm going to actually show and fast forward, because if you were to sit and watch this thing slowly go down forever, it's going to take forever. So let's speed this up so I can plop in there quickly so you can see how fast it works. Now, as we're looking at this is the first one. The very first one it does, it takes a little longer to set. And this is what the face looks like right below this, the screen that you're watching. And it tells you it's at 1%, the name of the file, and then how much time you have left in order for the print to finish, and how many layers there are total. That blob at the top is what it's printing right at that moment, the layer. So here it is doing all the prints, and you can see that blob changing as it goes up. And yes, this is a very, very long process. It's unbelievable how long it takes, but you know, it takes a while for it to do its printing. So here it is when it's supposed to be done. Let's pull it out and take a look. And as it's coming up, I don't see my object I was trying to print. In fact, it looks as though it is a failed print. In fact, it didn't work. In fact, when I opened this up, it had a big globular cluster hardened in the bottom of the reservoir. It was really hard to get apart. So to get this apart, you gotta, so you can see up there all the little supports are in there, but the actual object is glued down to the bottom as one giant puddle of hardened resin at the bottom. So you gotta scrape that off the metal plate. You gotta clean out all the resin. You gotta pour it back in there with a filter. And it's really quite the task to get this clean. So anytime you have an error, you got to clean it. So if you don't, if there's some little particulates left over in that resin and that metal piece comes down, it will actually embed the parts into particularly your glass on your actual 3D printer. So be very careful not to rush. You want to make sure you clean really well. Make sure you're getting cleaned up really good. And also use a paper funnel or some kind of funnel system to make sure there's no chunks or parts left in there as you pour your resin back into the bottle. So, after this, I'm back to the drawing board, and I reorientated the Bible at a crazy angle so only a piece of it touched one little bit at a time. So as I was printing this, when I set it up, it was at a crazy angle. And I saw this on a video. Some guy was trying to print a Mario coin. And this Mario coin, he said, it worked better. I'm going, what the heck? Why not print it flat? Well, now I know. When it's flat, it creates like a vacuum suction on the bottom of the reservoir, and then it becomes very difficult for it to pull itself off of there. Instead, it releases itself from the supports because it's still soft. So there you can see it sitting at an angle on the supports right there. Push the play button and let's go ahead and see if this new object at the crazy angle will actually work for printing. So let's check this out. There it goes. This is actually sped up footage, believe it or not. It's actually a lot slower than this, watching the whole entire thing. I probably should have sped this up for you a little bit, huh? Anyway, long story short, this print went bad because I touched the cord and it flickered, and then I had to start it over again, the exact same print, later again. So what I'm going to show you now is the footage of that second print after this one failed. And you can see that blob up there where it shows the light is coming through to print that one little section. That's what we see going on there. And yeah, it is extremely slow, waiting for it to print. Alright, so here it is in fast motion again. Now, just to speed this up, I'm going to actually cut some of this footage out and put a clock next to it so you guys can just see how slow this thing really goes. Alright, so there's our clock. And I did this as a dual purpose. I also wanted to see how hot or cold it was so I could check the temperature. It's supposed to be between 68 and 75 degrees. And I think that might have been some of my problem because the viscosity of the resin was too thick. But believe it or not, this print actually did work once it was all the way finished. Alright, so there it is, just finishing up. It's 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. It's getting later and later, just waiting for this print to happen. Almost done. Almost done. Alright, there it is. The thing of beauty. So then I cleaned it off, took off the stances, and then I put it on under a light so that it can harden all the way. I have a little turntable that's solar powered, so I put it under there so it would turntable around and basically get hardened. Alright, so let's take a look at my failed prints that I had first, and then I'll show you the successful one. So, as I was first printing, this is that first one I showed you, where it just totally messed up because it's flat. That's the supports of it. And then this other piece is the piece that got stuck on the bottom of the reservoir. You can see it was supposed to go right there on there, but it was really hard to get this off the reservoir. I learned you want to use alcohol to get it off or some kind of cleaning. This is the second one, and it had the same problem, but I had a longer time between each layer, so it did come out a little better, but still complete garbage because that was stuck on the bottom of the reservoir as well. You can see the supports were better. And then finally, this is the one that the power cord got kicked out of the way. Just barely touched it and it flickered, so only got printed part way. And there you can see it's actually starting to form. And I was kind of happy that, hey, it's starting to work. I can't believe it. So that's why I decided to use the exact same model. But this time I was very careful not to cut the cord out. You can see those are the supports, and there is the little Bible I printed. And it worked out pretty good. I made this model actually in a program called Organica, and then used Imagine to combine all the silver pieces. Now it did turn brown because I had it under the light way too long, and I found out it browns just like things do in the sun. I tried to whiten it up using the technique I use for plastics, but it didn't work. So just be careful not to let it sit too long, otherwise it will brown on you. Alright, then I tried to print my hammer, and that's all printed. It was just the support beams. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next video. Like, subscribe, tell your friends.